evening, everyone. My name is Kimberly Sullivan, and I'm Tri Delta's fraternity president. Thank you for joining us for this special session designed to help us prepare for Focus 2020, Tri Delta's first ever virtual convention. Can you believe convention is next Saturday? And that next Saturday is July 11th. It has been an interesting spring and summer. I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves and staying safe and healthy. As delegates to Tri Delta's 59th Biennial Convention, you have the responsibility to represent your chapter at the convention business meeting. You also have the exciting opportunity to participate in the fraternity's legislative process, which helps us chart the course for the fraternity's future. No pressure, right? It's all good. We will get through this together, I promise. And to be sure of that, I brought in all of our experts to guide us through the process. Let me introduce them now. First, we have Deborah Johnson, Nevada, is chair of Tri Delta's Bylaws Committee, which includes also Laura White, Puget Sound, and Jane Schmidt, Wisconsin. These women are so smart and so talented. They are also thorough because they had 67 amendments this time. Together with our very wise parliamentarian, Carol Farmer Baker, our attorney, Art Hogue, who is joining us by phone this evening, and our CEO, Karen White. I have perfect confidence in our collective ability to conduct the business of Tri Delta's 59th convention. This session is being recorded and will be made available for you to re-watch as needed, as well as for those delegates who weren't able to make it tonight. We will also cover the following topics and answer any additional questions you may have. We'll share delegate pro tips, review parliamentary procedure and terminology. We'll learn about a new procedure we'll be using this year in the spirit of efficiency. It's called a consent agenda, and I'm very excited about it. And we'll talk about the ins and outs of virtual voting on our online tool, vvoter.com. And we'll model how discussion and debate will take place in accordance with our convention rules. After that, we will open it up for answers any questions you may have. As questions may come up, please use the Q&A feature on the toolbar. It should be at the bottom of your screen. Okay, let's get started. Karen is here for some pro tips. Are you ready, Karen?
I'm ready. Let's do it. Good evening, voting delegates. Here are some tips and best practices for the convention business meeting on Saturday, July 11th. You'll be receiving instructions on how to log into the business meeting on July 9th, and then another reminder on the morning of the 11th. The session will look a lot like the session we're in now, only Deborah and Kimberly will be in the studio practicing safe social distancing with Carol Farmer. The business meeting will start promptly at 10 o'clock on the 11th, but if you'd like, you can join early and take part in a memorial session that will celebrate the lives of the Tri Delta sisters we've lost in the past biennium. So delegates tell us it's easiest to have a printed or digital copy of the proposed amendments nearby during the business meeting. We're going to send those out again via email as part of the official notice of convention, but you can also find all of those documents on the convention webpage on tridelta.org in the business meeting section of the convention webpage. Throughout the business meeting, we'll take short breaks as needed, but we ask that you don't close out of the meeting during the breaks. Closing out will require us to do repeated credentials checks each time a delegate logs back in. So in the spirit of efficiency and time, just stay logged into the meeting. We'll be offering some special entertainment, content, announcements, courtesy resolutions, and more, so you certainly won't be bored during the breaks. You'll see as you review the meeting agenda that we've built in a 30-minute break during the business meeting following the election and the installation of the Leadership Development Committee. So we'll have a built-in break, so just stay with us and we'll power through. Now over to our parliamentarian, Carol Farmer, for some education on parliamentary procedure and terminology. Carol?
Thank you, Karen. And good evening, delegates. I'm coming to you from Overland Park, Kansas. And each of you should have received a glossary of parliamentary procedure. And we're going to go through that and review those that we'll be using in the meeting. The first one is bylaw amendments. Motions approved by the bylaw committee that change or modify the current wording in the bylaws of Delta Delta Delta. And as your president told you, we have 67 of those. Bylaws committee, one of the standing committees designated in the fraternity bylaws of Delta Delta Delta. The bylaws committee is responsible for the preparation and presentation of amendments to come before the convention. They also conduct an annual review of all fraternity governing documents and those of any subsidiary or related corporation organized for the benefit of the fraternity or the corporation. Convention, and that's you, the supreme governing body of the fraternity, and when convened has all the powers of supervision and government of the fraternity, except for those reserved for the executive board. Convention agenda, the proposed agenda for the convention business meeting. The convention agenda must be approved by a majority of you, the convention delegates. Convention rules. Rules appropriate and applicable to this convention only. The convention rules must be approved by a 2/3 vote of you, the convention delegates. Credentials committee reports the number and type of voting members in attendance to the convention body at the beginning of each meeting where business is transacted. Any change in delegates must be reported to a member of the committee. Credentials reports may be requested prior to any vote of the convention. Germane discussion. Remarks for and against that have bearing on whether the current motion should be adopted or defeated. Irrelevant topics or comments are out of order. Main motion, a motion that introduces new business before the assembly. Resolutions committee prepares resolutions for presentation to the convention and makes recommendations to the convention concerning any resolution proposed by any member of the convention. Business resolutions are a main motion, usually of such importance or length that it is written and submitted to the resolutions committee for presentation at the convention. Courtesy resolutions recognize those who have contributed to the convention or to the fraternity in an exemplary way. Courtesy resolutions will be displayed on your screen throughout the business session. Simple, right? So now, back to you, Madam President, Sister President.
Thank you, Sister Parliamentarian. Thanks to Carol and her wisdom, we are going to use a new tool at our convention business meeting. It's called the consent agenda, and I am very excited to introduce it to you tonight. A consent agenda allows a group of items to be considered and voted upon together without discussion on individual motions. Those of you who are familiar with Robert's Rules of Order, this tool is also known as a consent calendar. Here's the way it works. The convention can adopt the consent agenda as it's presented and vote as a whole on all items included in the consent agenda in a single vote of the convention delegates. Or the convention can amend the consent agenda by removing items for additional consideration, discussion, and debate, as well as a separate vote of the convention delegates. Items that are removed from the consent agenda will be introduced as separate motions during the report of the bylaws committee. These items will be open for discussion and debate by the convention and adopted if defeated in a separate vote of the convention delegates. The items that remain in the consent agenda will not be read or discussed, so we need to make sure that we understand that prior to voting on the consent agenda. Once the consent agenda is adopted by the convention, by the vote, all items included in the consent agenda will be adopted by the convention. Let me pause there and see if there's any questions about the consent agenda as a parliamentarian tool. With no questions, I think I'll go on. So, the following items will be included in the consent agenda: the agenda for the business meeting agenda, the minutes from our 2018 convention business meeting, the state of the fraternity report, and proposed amendments number 1 through 66 to the fraternity bylaws. I told you the bylaws committee was thorough. Any member of the convention body may request to remove a single proposed amendment or group of amendments from the consent agenda. Again, this will mean that those proposed amendments will be considered separately during the report of the bylaws committee. They'll be open to discussion and debate and voted on separate by the convention delegates. The amendments that remain in the consent agenda, along with the other items in the consent agenda, will be voted on as a whole by the convention delegates. Now, there are 2 proposed amendments that will be brought before the convention body as part of the new business portion of the convention business meeting. Proposed amendments 67A and 67B, which address the size of the executive board, will not be included in the consent agenda. They will be presented separately, open to discussion and debate of the convention, and voted on separately by the convention delegates. I will now let Karen share more about how we'll be voting on our virtual convention setting.
Thanks, Kimberly. All voting is going to be done online at TriDelta's virtual convention through the vVoter tool. Only voting delegates will have access to this voting platform. Online voting will replace the various voting methods that we use during a typical in-person TriDelta convention, like voice votes or standing votes or roll call votes. vVoter will allow us to see the exact results of each vote once it's complete. And then Kimberly, as the convention chair, will share vote results with the convention body. Now, we all know that technology is amazing when it works. Case in point this evening. So we're going to practice a little bit tonight. Are you all ready to do some practicing? I'm going to take that as a yes and ask you all to log on to www.vvoter.com from your computer, your phone, or your tablet. I'll give you a moment to log on. And then you're going to enter the session code number. That is 373-466-135, and you'll choose connect. Your login ID is the email address you use to register as a convention delegate. I'm going to give everybody just a moment to get logged in. And then the first thing we're going to do tonight is to practice taking roll and establishing quorum. So please choose the option that best fits your role as a voting delegate. We're going to give you a little bit of time here to answer. And then once you choose the correct option that suits your voting status as a delegate, just hit submit. During the actual business meeting next Saturday, we'll take a short break after roll call so that our credentials committee can tally the results. Tonight, we'll just move forward to another sample question. Let me check in with the studio and see what they're seeing as they monitor vVoter and monitor your questions.
Thank you, Karen. Results are coming in.
Great. Will you let us know when you think it's, is it closed now?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful.
And we'll move on to the next question.
Great. Thank you, Courtney. So all voting is going to be multiple choice, yes, no questions like this one. Are you looking forward to lead online? Feel free to answer the question now. And then the next question, which is your favorite color? Now, these are easy questions, but on Saturday, there may be a significant amount of time between the votes. And if that's the case and we get to a vote, but you're not seeing the question, you may need to refresh your browser to get to the next question. So just keep that in mind. Now back to Kimberly for guidelines and instructions on discussion and debate during the convention business meeting.
Thank you, Karen. This is exciting stuff. In this virtual setting, discussions will look a little different. Any member in good standing can bring forward a discussion item. When the time comes for debate or discussion, please use the raise hand function in the toolbar to indicate that you would like to speak. You'll be entered into a queue and the convention timekeeper will manage the flow of discussion. When it is your turn to speak, you will be designated as a panelist and your video and audio feeds will be turned on so that you may address the convention chair and the convention body. So as we do in person, you will state your name and chapter or your official title before addressing your business. So I just want to make sure everybody knows you will be on camera. You will be seen by all those attending our business meeting. So just make sure that you got your yoga pants on the bottom and you got your nice shirt on top.
We're going to be virtual casual.
Exactly. In addressing the convention chair, you may use the customary Madam President, or you can use TriDelta's version, Sister President, Sister Deltas. Be prepared with your comments as you will only have 3 minutes to address the convention. All commentary must be related to the current motion or discussion topic in order to be considered germane. In addition, each speaker may only share new comments. Repetitive comments are out of order. At the end of your 3 minutes, your video and audio feed will be turned off, kind of like the Oscars, turned off. Members may speak up to 2 times on any given topic. I've asked the Bylaws Committee members, Laura White and Jane Schmidt, to demonstrate discussion for you. So we're gonna see how this goes.
Laura, if you could unmute yourself.
Delegate from the Phi Zeta chapter of the University of Puget Sound. I would like to discuss Amendment 44.
Okay.
Amendment 44 relates to membership regulations, I believe. And it's the one that talks about paying fees on time or before initiation, and it's giving us the new option of having a payment plan, I think, for collegiate chapter dues. And I think that's a really good idea. I think our new members come in and have only 6 weeks to go through their process and to be initiated, and they have to come up with a lot of money at a really short amount of time. And I really like the idea of being able to have a chance to have a payment plan for dues. I believe it says in the rationale, this would allow TriDelta to be more equitable and accept a more diverse group of members. That's really cool. New members' dues are quite high and may be prohibitive to many worthy members who come from lower income families or have limited family support.
Laura, you have 30 seconds.
Okay, thanks. So allowing for flexibility with chapter dues gives individual chapters the opportunity to recognize the circumstances of individual members and be thoughtful. So I really think it's a great idea to have a payment plan for the chapter dues part of the new member fees, and I support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. So that was an example of how the timekeeper is going to keep us on time, and that is very important to me to stay on time, right, Karen? All right, let's move on to Jane.
Okay, Sister President, Sister Deltas, my name is Jane Schmidt. I'm an alumna member of the Chicago Loop Group. I wanted to go back to a proposed amendment that we had already voted on earlier because I just had a thought or a question to add to that. It's the number 28 Extension Committee. I wanted to discuss if we could kind of
Sister
change.
Delta, you're out of order because this is not germane to what we are talking about. We are talking about dues. So do you have something to discuss about the dues that our sister Laura just mentioned?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have anything on that. I agree with Laura.
Okay, well, I'm glad you agree with Laura. So when we're ready for that amendment, will you speak up on that behalf, the one that you want to speak to?
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. All right. And that's as simple as it's going to get, right, Carol?
Absolutely.
Okay. So thank you, Laura and Jane, for being such good sports. Of course, members of the Bylaws Committee would never make these mistakes, but the rest of us will, and of course, I will too. So that's all okay. I'm here to be here with you. Carol's here for you, and Deborah and Karen and the rest of the Bylaws Committee. We're all here to get through this. And we'll get through it together and emerge as a stronger sisterhood and organization. We have a few minutes left. Does anybody have any questions? And if you do, please use the raise hand feature in your toolbar to ask questions, or you can submit them in the question and answer box. Remember, we're answering questions about the process and the procedure tonight. All discussion and debate for convention business should be saved for next Saturday.
Yes, Sister President, we have a question from Lisa Mears. If she can unmute herself.
Hello?
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. The funny thing
How
is
are
I
you?
found the answer. I'm good, thank you. How are you? I'm Lisa Mears from, I'm a alumni chapter president of the Marin County Alumni Chapter.
Okay.
And you answered my question earlier. I didn't know how to ask my question. I had missed the session code number, but I found it in the chat box. So
Perfect.
I have no other questions.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad we got a chance to talk. I will talk to you in a week. Courtney, do we have any other questions?
There are no more questions at this time.
All right.
And I've gotten word from the studio, Kimberly, that our delegates just did a beautiful job logging on, taking roll, and answering questions. So I just think we've got a super tech savvy group that will be ready for our first ever virtual convention. I think we're set.
Well, I am definitely up for the challenge. So, well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope this session has helped you feel more prepared for TriDelta's first ever virtual convention and business meeting next Saturday. Just a few reminders, we'll be hosting TriDelta Tech office hours next week. Feel free to call into one of these sessions and learn more about logging onto the virtual convention platform and online discussion, debate, and voting. We will host office hours on Monday, July 6th from noon to 12 p.m. Central Time and Tuesday, July 7th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time. These sessions are for tech support only. We will not be addressing convention business during these times. This would be like if you're having trouble logging in or if you have any questions on how to raise your hand, that would be who you would want to contact. Please take some time to review the proposed amendments and to familiarize yourself with the convention rules and the parliamentary procedure glossary we've provided. And of course, do a quick tech check and make sure your technology is ready to go on Saturday morning. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to email events@trideltaeo.org. And I and the rest of the Bylaws Committee will see you next weekend. Please stay safe and Delta love to all of you.